The clocks inside Buckingham Palace have a way of stopping when a sovereign dies. Not the real clocks, not the ones on the walls, but the other kind, the hidden kind. The kind that lives inside old rules, private phone calls, sealed papers, and people who already know where to stand before the tears even begin. And that is where this story starts. Because if King Charles dies, the first 24 hours will not just be about grief. They will not be soft. They will not be slow. They will be exact, timed, controlled, almost cold. And for Prince Harry and Meghan, those hours may feel less like mourning and more like a door shutting. Hard. Today we are diving into what really sits underneath the royal headlines. Not the polished palace version, not the smiling balcony wave, but the machinery, the rules, the silent moves that happen when power changes hands. What many people don't know is that in the royal world, a death is also an instant transfer of authority. One monarch is gone, another is there at once. No pause, no waiting room, no emotional break in the system. The crown keeps moving. That is why the moment matters so much. For years, King Charles has seemed like Harry's last soft link to the institution. Even after the interviews, even after the Netflix series, even after Spare, even after all the family hurt spilled into public view, Charles still represented something important. A buffer. Not always a loving one, not always a visible one, but a buffer. The script you gave makes one brutal point again and again. Charles is the last thing standing between Harry and the full force of the monarchy. And if that last protection disappears, then what? That is the real question here. Because the story is not just about titles. It is not just about uniforms, websites, old houses, or seating plans in a chapel. It is about status, identity, access, belonging. The difference between being inside the system and standing outside it, watching the gates close. For Harry and Meghan, that difference may become painfully clear in a single day. The image is easy to see. A coded message leaves Clarence's house. Senior staff move at speed. Palace offices wake into action. Papers are drafted, phones ring, cars are assigned, black ties appear. State plans unfold exactly as trained. And somewhere in California, or maybe already on a plane, Harry and Meghan are no longer dealing with a difficult family moment alone. They are dealing with a new king. And that changes everything. Because the script's core claim is chilling, once William becomes king, ambiguity ends. Under Charles, there was still some blur. The Sussexes were out, but not fully erased. Hurt, but not fully cut off. Criticized, but still linked by blood, memory, and a father who never completely bolted the door. Under William, the story suggests that blur disappears. That is where the fear begins. Let's talk about what really gives royal life its power. Most people think it is jewels, carriages, castles, and ceremony. That is part of it, yes. But the deeper truth is structure. Royal life runs on ranking, wording, permissions, precedents, symbols, and quiet approval. If those things are removed, the loss is not only emotional, it becomes practical. That is why even something that sounds small, like how a name appears on a website or whether a title is used in a court circular, can hit like a hammer. In royal life, symbols are not decoration. They are working parts of the machine. And in this script, every one of those parts begins to move against Harry and Meghan the moment Charles is gone. First comes the title question, then the children, then money, then the house in Britain, then security, then uniforms, then formal state roles, then the photos, then the records, then the final thing. The option of return. That last part may be the saddest of all, because beneath all the legal language and formal protocol, this is still a human story. A son leaves home. He says he wants freedom. He says he wants peace. He says he wants a life built on his own terms. But years later, much of his identity still circles the same family he walked away from. That is the tragedy sitting underneath this whole script. Harry tried to leave the palace, but the palace never fully left Harry. And now imagine the one person who still tied him to that world is gone. What remains then? Not everyone will agree with the script's view. Many are questioning how much of this would really happen so quickly, or how far William would go. That debate is part of what makes the whole thing so gripping. Because this story lives in a place where law, power, family pain, and public image all crash into each other. And in royal life, the crash is never loud at first. It is usually silent. A missing title, a changed listing, a denied request, a different seat, no uniform, no residence, no callback, no place in the inner circle. Just like that, a person can go from prince in the center of the picture to relative at the edge of the frame. That is what gives this story its power. Not one giant explosion, a series of cold little cuts, and according to the script, those cuts begin almost immediately. But there's more to this story. Because none of this came out of nowhere. The first 24 hours only matter this much because of everything that happened before them. The brotherly split, the public damage, the fear inside the palace, the question that has haunted the monarchy for years now. How do you deal with someone who still carries the royal name, but no longer plays by royal rules? That question did not begin when Charles got older. It began long before that. And once you look back, the pattern becomes much harder to ignore. To understand why these first 24 hours feel so loaded, you have to go back to the fault line inside the family. Because this story is not only about Harry and Meghan leaving royal life, it is also about the shape of the monarchy itself, what it wants to become, what it wants to cut away, and who gets left behind when the institution decides it must survive at any cost. Royal insiders have talked for years about the idea of a slimmed-down monarchy. It sounds neat and modern. Less clutter, fewer working royals, a tighter inner team, more focus, better value for the public. On paper, that sounds simple. In real life, it means some people matter more than others, and once William's future role became clearer, so did the shape of that future. He, Catherine, and their children are the core. That is the line moving forward. The direct path. The clean story the monarchy wants to tell. Harry, once central to that image, slowly became something more difficult. A problem. Not because he ceased to be royal by blood. He did not. But because he became royal without obedience. That is a dangerous thing in a system built on order. Unlike William, Harry always seemed more restless inside palace life. The military gave him shape, structure, meaning he looked most comfortable there. Many people saw that. A prince in uniform made sense to the public in a way other roles sometimes did not. It felt real, less scripted, less polished. Then Meghan arrived, and for a while, the picture looked fresh, modern, energetic, different. They had star power. Attention followed them everywhere. Their tours drew huge interest. Their wedding felt like a global event. For a moment, it looked as if the monarchy had found a new way to speak to the world. But the shine did not last. What many people don't know is that royal life is not built to absorb strong personal brands very easily. It likes control. It likes message discipline. It likes slow movement and careful language. Harry and Meghan brought something else: speed, emotion, openness, and eventually public resistance. That tension kept growing. Then came the break. They stepped back as working royals. They moved away. First Canada, then California. And from there, a new life began. Interviews, media deals, public statements, legal battles, a memoir, a whole new commercial structure. But here is the piece the script keeps pushing. Even after leaving, their values still rested on their royal link. That is the uncomfortable truth buried in the whole saga. The Netflix deal mattered because they were Harry and Meghan. The Spotify interest mattered because they were Harry and Meghan. Speaking platforms, headlines, brand power, public fascination, all of it was tied to the same fact. They had left the monarchy, yes, but they remained deeply tied to it in the public mind. They did not escape the royal story. They became a different chapter of it. And the palace knew that. This is where the pattern begins to show. Every time Harry and Meghan tried to define themselves outside the institution had to decide how much space to leave around them. Too much space, and the line between working royal and private celebrity becomes blurry. Too little space, and the family looks cruel. Charles often seemed to live inside that blur. He could look disappointed, even hurt, but still leave things partly open. Titles stayed. The children's status remained a point of care. Official language did not slam all the doors at once. There was frustration, yes. Distance, yes. But still some ambiguity. And ambiguity is exactly what this script says William will not tolerate. That matters because the warning signs were already there. The Frogmore issue was one. Security battles were another. So was the question of uniform at major royal events. So was placement at ceremonies. So was who got included where and in what way. None of these things felt random. They felt like signals. Small signals, maybe. But in royal life, small signals are often the loudest. A title not used in one place becomes a bigger message later. A formal role left untouched for now becomes a target later. A courtesy extended once does not mean it will exist forever. And there was something else building too. Public patience inside the institution was wearing thin. The memoir did real damage. So did the interviews. So did the documentary. Each one pushed private pain into public air. Each one made the palace feel less like a family under pressure and more like a fortress under attack from one of its own. That changes how people think. That changes what forgiveness looks like. That changes how future plans are drawn. Many are questioning how much personal hurt sits under all of this, especially between William and Harry. And honestly, that may be impossible to separate from the constitutional side. The brothers were once sold to the world as a unit, different, yes, but bonded. Then, life split them apart, and the split did not stay private. It became global. And once a family rupture becomes public history, it hardens. That is what makes the script's warning feel so severe. It is not only saying William will act as king, it is saying he will act as a king whose personal trust has already been shattered. That combination is dangerous, because now the emotional wound and the institutional goal point in the same direction. Less ambiguity, less access, less room, a tighter crown. And then comes the darkest part of the backstory. The children. Archie and Lilibet were always more than children in this story. They became symbols. For Harry and Meghan, they represented continuity, proof that even after leaving, their line still connected to royal history, not just privately but publicly. That made their titles matter. Not because titles make a child whole, but because titles signal whether the institution still sees that child as part of its future story. If that signal changes, the emotional effect is huge. And that brings us to the next stage, the actual crisis the script imagines. Not the years of hurt, not the arguments in the press, not the slow build of resentment. The moment the old king dies, the moment the new king begins, the moment all the tension turns into action. And on that particular occasion, according to the script, The palace stops leaving things vague, it starts making them official. On this particular occasion, everything changes in silence first. No shouting, no public confrontation, no dramatic family scene in a palace corridor, just procedure. That is what makes it so chilling. A coded message leaves the royal residence. Staff move. Government is informed. Plans long prepared slide into place. Black clothes, transport, access lists, ceremonial drafts, protection reviews, official wording, web changes, internal memos, all of it starts at once. And Harry and Meghan, wherever they are in that moment, are suddenly dealing with more than grief. They are dealing with accession. The script's big idea is simple and brutal. The first 24 hours are when the monarchy decides what they are now, not emotionally, administratively. That distinction matters, because the first thing under pressure is title architecture. In normal life, a title sounds like decoration. In royal life, it is a map. It tells people where you stand, what access you carry, what respect you are owed, what place you have in the order of things. If a new king wants to redraw that map, he can do it fast. And according to the script, William would. This is presented as the first strike, not always loud, not always theatrical, but decisive, a hard line between working royals and everyone else, a shift from tolerated distance to formal separation. If that happens, Harry and Meghan are no longer hanging in that strange space between out and still somehow in. They are simply out. And then the story moves to the children, which may hit even harder, because when adults lose status, they can tell themselves they chose their path. But when the effect touches children, the wound feels deeper. The script frames Archie and Lilibet as the symbolic bridge back to royal heritage. If their royal identity is reduced or quietly left out of official usage, the message is bigger than paperwork. It says the future does not include them in the same way. That is the sort of thing that can echo for years. Then comes money. And this part of the script is especially sharp. It argues that whatever quiet cushion still existed under Charles disappears the moment his authority does. Once the duchy arrangements and informal support structures are no longer shaped by a father king, the Sussexes are left standing on their own financial ground. No palace softness, no invisible bridge, no family-backed safety net. That changes the mood of the whole story, because then Montecito is not just a beautiful home, it becomes an expensive reality. Security becomes a giant bill. Legal fights become heavier. Staff, travel, image management, public life, everything costs. And if the palace connection becomes visibly colder, then the market may respond too. In other words, the script suggests their brand weakens at the exact moment their costs become more exposed. That is a dangerous combination. But the crisis does not stop there. Frogmore becomes another symbol in the story. A house, yes, but more than that, a foothold in Britain. A sign that however broken things were, there was still a place on royal soil that connected them to the family structure. Take that away, and the emotional message is obvious. You may come back for the funeral, but not home. That one lands hard. Then, security. Maybe the most practical and frightening issue of all. Harry has made clear for years that he sees security in Britain as a serious matter. The script argues that under a new reign, any lingering case for special treatment weakens fast. No longer son of the monarch, no working role, no official function, no state obligation. That means when he returns to Britain for one of the most watched events on earth, he may do so without the royal shield that once defined his life. No official motorcade, no state perimeter around him, no sense that the palace is still responsible in the old way. That is not just symbolic, That is visceral. And then comes the image that may cut deepest for Harry personally, the uniform. Because for all the mess of royal life, military service was one of the few parts of Harry's identity that the public widely accepted as real, serious, and earned. If he is denied military dress at the funeral or other state events under William's authority, the humiliation is not only visual, it is deeply personal. A brother in full ceremonial role, a brother in a suit. The cameras would do the rest. That is how the monarchy often works when it wants to make a point. It does not always need a statement. It needs a picture. And the pictures matter just as much in the next part of the crisis, physical placement. Who walks? Who rides? Who sits where? Who enters which room? Who appears in which frame? The script calls this the protocol cold shoulder, and honestly, that phrase works because royal protocol can feel like emotional warfare dressed as etiquette. Nobody has to announce that someone has been pushed out. The arrangement of bodies tells the story for them. A step behind, a row back, a car instead of a procession, a chapel seat visible but not central. No one needs to say a word. The images become the evidence, and by now the full crisis has taken shape. This is no longer just about one or two losses. It is a cascade. Titles, children's status, money, residence, security, uniform, ceremonial role, placement, visibility, official recognition. Each one hits a different nerve. Practical, public, personal, psychological. That is what gives the script its force. It layers the losses until one truth begins to emerge. The real danger is not one dramatic punishment. It is total reclassification. From royal rebels to private relatives, from difficult insiders to managed outsiders, from a live constitutional headache to a closed file. But the full truth was still to come. Because the deepest loss in this story is not property, money, or protocol. It is something far harder to replace. The loss of a path back. Let's talk about what really sits at the center of this story. It is not a cottage. It is not a title. It is not even security, painful as that is. It is the death of ambiguity. That is the truth the script builds toward from the first line to the last. Under Charles, however strained things became, there was still some emotional fog in the picture. Some room for later. Some space for maybe. Maybe the relationship could soften. Maybe the family door was not open, but still unlocked. Maybe history had not finished speaking. Under William, the script says, that fog disappears. And once it disappears, the Sussexes lose something no legal appeal can fully restore. Possibility. That is why the later details in the script feel so important. The official website changing, their placement in records shifting, their office in Britain being quietly shut down, their access to institutional channels fading away. These may sound technical, but together they do one thing very clearly. They turn emotional distance into formal distance. The website matters because it tells the world who counts now. The office matters because it represents operational life. The archive access matters because history itself becomes harder to touch. The counselors of state role matters because it is one of the last remaining threads connecting Harry to the formal structure of the state. Cut all those threads, and what remains? Blood, yes. Fame, yes. Memory, yes. But not function, not standing, not role. And in royal life, that difference is everything. Accounts from journalists and commentators have long suggested that the palace is always thinking in terms of stability. That is the word that sits behind so many royal decisions. Stability for the crown. Stability for succession. Stability for public trust. If William truly sees Harry and Meghan as permanent ambiguity, neither fully private nor properly royal, then the logic of the script becomes clear. He does not just need distance, he needs definition. And definition can feel merciless. Public reaction to such moves would be intense, of course. Some people would say William was doing exactly what a modern king must do: protect the institution, clarify roles, stop the mixed signals, and show the public that monarchy is not a pick-and-choose arrangement. Others would see cruelty in it. Coldness. A final humiliation of a brother already estranged and exposed. Both reactions could exist at once. That is what makes the story so powerful, because it is not clean. On one side is the argument for survival. A monarchy cannot keep functioning, some would say, if people are half in and half out, using royal status when useful while attacking royal life when angry. On the other side is the human fact of family. A son is still a son. A brother is still a brother. Children are still children. And when institutions deal with family pain, the result often looks harsher than anyone wants to admit. That is why the final pages of the script carry real weight. They stop being about palace admin and become something sadder. Harry left in search of freedom, but the identity he built after leaving still depended on what he left behind. That is the irony at the heart of everything. His public self remained tied to the palace even after he walked out of it. That is not a small detail. That is the whole story. The memoir mattered because he was royal. The interviews mattered because he was royal. The anger mattered because it came from someone who knew the system from the inside. Even the pain had market value because it was royal pain. So if the institution finally answers by saying, in effect, you are outside now, completely, then Harry faces a brutal question: what remains when the source of the story refuses to keep feeding it? That is the real aftermath imagined here. A life in California, still famous, still wealthy by ordinary standards, still visible, still discussed, but cut away from the machine that gave the identity its force. A visit to Britain not as a returning prince, but as a guest. Attendance at major family moments, perhaps, but never again as part of the central working core. No soft landing, no quiet re-entry, no future chapter where the split heals into a role. That is what makes the ending feel heavy. Because the script is not really predicting only administrative losses, it is describing an emotional finality, a kind of institutional death by paperwork, protocol, and silence. No single announcement says it plainly, but everything around them would. The suit instead of the uniform, the changed title usage, the weaker official listing, the lack of residence, the closed office, the missing place in the room. The sense that the family has not only moved on, but reorganized itself so thoroughly that there is no space left to return to. And maybe that is why the final question lingers so strongly. If all of that happens, what do Harry and Meghan build next? Not as a side branch of royalty, not as half-attached exiles, but as something fully separate. That is harder than it sounds. Because building a new life is one thing. Building a new identity after the old one is formally shut out is something else. These stories provide insight into something bigger than royal gossip. They show how power protects itself, how families can turn pain into structure, how institutions survive by choosing clarity over comfort, and how a person can leave a world physically long before he stops orbiting it in every other way. In the end, that may be the saddest image of all. Not Harry and Meghan losing a house, a title, or a line on a website, but standing at the edge of a system that once wrapped around them like skin, and realizing the final door is no longer merely closing. It is already shut.